Hey everyone, got a great show for you today. As you know, we have a growing playlist now because I want to just celebrate success, be happy, and we're doing one of these a week. This week we are bringing on the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer of Hub UX, Eric Santos. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm glad that we're doing this right now, Michael. Yeah, I'm doing great. Business is going during these times when others don't have the blessing to say that. So I am blessed with that opportunity, and yeah, I'm doing good.
Excellent. And just so we can get it out of the way early, you and I have done some work together, or actually I should say you have done work for me, both for One Rental at a Time, my book, the Hub, right? You've done some work for the Hub, which is an office building I own in Fresno. And you've also helped launch a website, the Hub Fresno, I think, .com. So you've done a lot of work for me over the last, let's call it year, probably. So we can definitely talk
Yeah,
about that. And you do a lot of other things. So where do you think we should start in your story? Maybe tell your story first.
yeah. I'll tell you my story. As Michael just said, I've done work for him, and I have a background in sales, marketing, and so on. And I got that due to my entrepreneurship. So I am currently the Chief Revenue Officer of Hub UX, and that is kind of my main job slash business. On the side, I also do consulting for clients, such as I've done with Michael, to kind of take what I've learned from growing companies over the years, mostly in the technology space, and then apply it to other industries such as real estate, CPG, and so on. But a little bit of my background: I grew up in Visalia, California. Um, then I attended Fresno State, went to junior college first called COS, went to Fresno State to study business slash entrepreneurship as my specific option. Studied hard. I was the first in my family to go to college, let alone graduate. So at a younger age, it seemed more like a pipe dream, but my dad was pushed me very well to do college. He was a big inspiration for me because when I grew up, we didn't necessarily live in the best place, but my dad, he taught himself computers when I was probably by sixth grade. So he had a job. I don't even know exactly what it was, but he would, after he got off his job, he would read these very long Microsoft certification books and became IT certified, so non-going to school, but kind of self-taught, and was able to get a job in IT probably by the time I was in junior high, and that was able to kind of change the dynamic of where we lived and things like that. So that was always a big inspiration. And then to kind of take it a step further and actually go to a accredited school. And I'm not even getting into the debate. I think college is not for everyone, but it was for me, and it was a big part of my career path because I met a lot of people in the business major that I didn't necessarily have around me, that kind of circle earlier in Visalia with people I grew up in, and I love them all, but it's a different type of mentality. And studied entrepreneurship at Fresno State. I started my first technology company my senior year, which was in the online video coaching space. It really never got it off the ground, but I did raise 75 grand in venture capital, or I wouldn't even say venture capital, angel capital from local investors. First guy I got investment with, he gave me 5 grand. He was actually a local crop duster. He's like, "Hey, Eric, when I go to Vegas, I spend about this much in a weekend. This is me not going to Vegas for a weekend and kind of betting on you. If I don't see it, it's not the end of the world, but if I can hit home, that would be great." So I started a company. I learned a lot of lessons starting that first one. I was only 21. So that's about a decade ago, just for reference of this timeline. And anyways, it didn't succeed. We never really got it off the ground. We tried to build a product. There's a concept in building software, and it probably makes sense in building houses or anything. We call it the MVP. So if you want to build a car, if you build the chassis, you can't do anything with the chassis. But if you built like a skateboard with one of the wheels, it provides the same utility as a car, just at 1/60th of the speed. So after the skateboard, you build the bike, then the car. A chassis itself is great, and it gets you towards that goal, but it does nothing. It's stationary. So we built a chassis, and we never got the thing off the ground. Then I took a corporate job in a company called Decipher, which is a local software company that's pretty big in Fresno. It's the biggest one between Bay Area and Bakersfield. It's now called Focus Vision. It was bought out by a company called Focus Vision. And there I was one of about 200 employees. I did a lot of things on the customer side, sales, customer success, account management, just all various client facing roles. I never actually got into full, I would say like cold calls. I didn't get into that to my first business. I was always more on the latter end of the sales cycle, closing, account executive, etc. And then the cool story with that company is, again, it was a large company. It was about 200 employees. It was bought out by a company called Focus Vision for a lot of money. But the CEO of that company, Decipher, and then became the CEO of Focus Vision. He's actually my business partner now. So at Hub UX, he's the CEO of Hub UX. I'm Chief Revenue Officer, but it's cool because he's a very guy with a lot of experience. I mean, I looked up to him right out when I got there out of college. I'm just one of like a few hundred employees looking up to this guy that's a CEO. And then now he's my business partner in the new venture. And the way that came to fruition, because there's about a 3-4 year gap where I was CEO of a company called Benchmark Intelligence, which me and my business partners, we all worked at that company, Decipher. We quit our jobs February 19, 2015 to run Benchmark Intelligence. And Benchmark's still going to this day. It's actually still growing customers. I'm still involved with the company. I have a share of it. It's not my day-to-day activities anymore. But Benchmark is a customer feedback platform for brick and mortar. So think restaurants, banks, et cetera. It does feedback through text messaging. So we work with some companies with hundreds of locations around the US. And I did that for about 4 years until I joined Hub UX about a little less than a year ago. The reason I joined that was my business partner asked me to join. And again, this is someone that I've known for 10 years. I worked for, and I've seen what he has accomplished. You know, he's been a CEO of a multi-international company with, I think Focus Vision was hundreds of employees. They worked with 75% of the Fortune 500. And if he was going to replicate anything close to that magic, I wanted to be on board with that. So that's how I got into Hub UX. We're still in the early stages. We are about a year into it. We are a market research software that helps market researchers find who they want to talk to. So if you ever do a survey or you do a focus group to get feedback on a product, the most important part of that research is the people, like the participants, because without them, you don't have research. So our software helps you find those people and then do the research with them. Right now, we do a lot of services while we build the software. So in software, you usually do things you can do manual for money while you're trying to build the automation. Mm-hmm. So right now, we're kind of like almost a headhunting firm for market researchers while we finish building the software, which should be done in about a month or two. And then it's going from selling services to selling a software product. And the great thing about a software product is you build it once and I mean, you just onboard people. It's you can scale it very quickly. You don't necessarily need humans to do that.
Yeah.
And so that is the long-winded answer of my story from where I started to how I am right now as the Chief Revenue Officer of Hub UX. And again, doing consulting work on the side with marketing, sales, market research, et cetera.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And again, it's amazing how similar our stories are on just a couple of decades ahead of you. Right. I was the first person in my family, mother or father's side, to go to college, graduate, and have a master's degree. So I totally get that. Came from very humble beginnings. It's funny about this, being the CRO of Hub UX now, because something I don't think I've ever talked about on video before is I was employee 13 of a startup where I was part of the consulting team. Right. I was out selling hours as the software company was building a product that ultimately became something that was, sold tens of millions of dollars. Ultimately, it got bought by another software company, causing a nice liquidity event. But yeah, I mean, that's a very similar story, and I'm very familiar with that kind of roadmap, right? Sell hours while the smart people are building the software. Software automates what the people are doing. Then you go sell the software, and you go from there. So that's a pretty exciting story. And then on
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know that you were in the software side before. So I knew you were in sales, like obviously, because I've helped you like create your website. I know your background, but I didn't know specifically what your corporate sales were before doing real estate. So
I was on the sales side. Yeah. I don't talk about it much. I was on the sales side, individual contributor. I was a solution consultant, which sometimes they call sales engineer, sales consultant, whatever you want to call it. Then a direct field rep, right? Owned accounts. Then I helped manage teams. Then I ran regions, and then, I had worldwide responsibility for different product lines at different times. So yeah, definitely software sales for 25 years, probably. Yeah, so I get it. I know where you're at. Um, Obviously, we've interacted by your side hustle, right? Something you've had on the side,
Yes.
where you've. I mean, I don't know that you ever named it. I called it content marketing. I don't know what else to call it. You helped me do some pretty cool
Mhm.
things that I can't do, right? I'm not going to build a website. I'm not going to, build content. Do you want to talk about your side hustle at all and kind of talk about how long you've been doing that or no?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, as an entrepreneur, I mean, I started entrepreneurship as having a side hustle. So my initial company, Benchmark Intelligence, was a side hustle while I had a full-time job until we got funding and I was able to leave that. So I've always just by nature always had a side hustle. It'd be weird for me to like, since ever I had a full-time job, I always had a side hustle. And then when my side hustle became my full-time job, I still needed side hustles. Like one other thing is actually a co-owner of a boxing gym downtown. And I've always just like diversifying. I'm still single and I have a lot of time, so I try to stay busy. Not necessarily a lot of obligations. And then yeah, one thing that I really love is being able to help other businesses with the skills that I have, because when you're an entrepreneur and you're in your business, it's something that you're in every single day and you learn everything about the industry. But for me, it is exciting to do side work. I'm actually pretty picky about kind of taking on clients just due to the fact that time
Mhm.
is something that is delicate, and then I just want to make sure that's attributed to the best sources. And when I originally began working with you, my friend Amnar, also goes by AJ. He's one of my good friends from Fresno State. He's actually into like wholesale and flipping.
Yep.
I think you posted something about needing a website on Facebook, and he tagged me. And it's funny, he actually mentioned you before. He tagged me. I think he had the book. We're talking about books, and he brought up One Rental at a Time. And he was just talking pretty much about how much of a badass you were. And then, so when that opportunity came up, I try to, whenever work with someone that I can learn something from the most space, or learn something from that space. Maybe it's like an industry that I could see myself getting in one day. So I want to do that. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of the background. My methodology of choosing to work with companies, given that I've started several, and then being on this from CEO to chief revenue officer, both are very similar. You're in charge of making sure the money's coming in from customers
Yep.
for a product or service. So taking that ideology in something like tech, the building the websites, the marketing, everything I'm doing is very marketing focused, because when it comes to building a website, there's people out there that will build you websites for thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And that's not what I charge. And the reason they do that is because they do it by scratch. They're doing it by code versus using something more templated based. But at the end of the day, what really converts is not necessarily how it looks, because you could have two websites side by side. One costs a lot more because it's built from scratch. The other is more template, but it's actually the wordsmithing. It's how it's like, even if you do pay someone, then they need to hire a marketer to come up with the copy and make it so that it works for customers. So for me, I'm not doing it from necessarily, I have a technological background, but I'm doing it from more of a sales and marketing standpoint. Everything I build or work on is how can I, build a website, a pretty affordable rate that's going to help you best bring in new business. So yeah, that's just a little bit about my background of how I choose to work with people, and just some of the other services I do is website development, advertising management, influencer marketing campaigns, and anything else in between. I can get pretty creative.
Yeah. And again, I've used all of that either via One Rental at a Time, the hub, or the hub. So definitely somebody I support. Why don't you just real quick, we'll probably do this again at the end. If somebody wanted to enlist your services for your side hustle, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah. So the best way to reach me, my email is Eric Santos. So that's EricSantosBiz, Eric Santos Biz @gmail.com. And also find me on Instagram. I'm very active on there. My handle is Eric Santos CEO. I know it still says CEO and I became chief revenue officer, but I'm holding to that. Still the same mentality that I keep. But yeah, Instagram and email, two best ways to reach me.
I will put your email as the first line in the description, folks. It's again, Eric Santos Biz @gmail.com. All one word.
Correct.
Okay, cool. That will be the first line description. And again, folks, the reason I liked using Eric, and again, I went back to him, I used him once and used him again, used him again, used him again, is because he's bringing his day job, his experience, which is really attracting leads, converting leads, and moving forward. It's not about the technology. I have so many people reaching out to me going, hey, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And
they're throwing around technical gobbledygook that, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could figure out, but I don't. It's not about the technical bits. It's about attracting and converting leads, right? Top of funnel, in funnel, ultimately through closure. So if you want to have somebody help you do that, that's why you call Eric. That's why you reach out to ericsantosbiz@gmail.com. So very highly rated. I've used him 4-5 different times, I think. At least 4.
Yeah, several times. Yeah, at least 4. Thank you. I really appreciate that plug.
Yeah, you got it. So the other thing that I think we should talk about is I think there's a lot of folks, I'll just say under 30, right? Which is, I'm going to still include you in that basket of folks single, that really need to think about having a full-time job and a side hustle. I believe over the last 2 or 3 years, there has been too much social media nonsense about quit your day job and just hustle. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Like hustle's the answer, right? Hustle porn almost, right? I like how you have a day job, right? You work 8 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever it is, 8 to 8, and you still have a side hustle. And your side hustle is not so out of bounds where you can't cross-pollinate, right? When we were talking very early on about that first project, I'm like, okay, this guy gets it. Now it makes sense to me, right? Because it's not about trying to sound so intelligent that you're saying all these freaking technology acronyms that I'm sure think you're smart. Where we're talking about, okay, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to attract? How you want to convert them? How you want to do all that? So why don't we talk about that mindset of, go get a day job, be the best you can, 8 to 5, and then the importance of having a side hustle. I think people need to hear that. It's not about go quit your job, put your life, put your everything at risk. Build up the side hustle, and then when it replaces, it replaces.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That's definitely a sentiment that I shared with you. I've, been, familiar enough with your book and know a lot about your kind of ideologies. Like, hey, that's not something necessarily you need to quit your job. This is financial freedom. It can be built over time. And if you get to that place one day where, it deems unnecessary to work, then you can, but you're not selling a get rich quick scheme. And that's also going back to earlier, something I would probably, people I never work with is that type. And you're like a true, person that's adding value in people's life from kind of what you do and having an actual blueprint. So I've always respected that. But in terms of the way I approach that and look at that is, for me, it was good eye-opening. So my first company, when we quit, I had 2 business partners. So they were one was a chief technology officer. So he built the software, and the other was a product officer. So he built the front end to make it pretty, and I sold it. So we had kind of the trifecta. I was ready to quit earlier on because this was 5 years ago. So I was even younger, but Ken, one of my partners for that first company, he had his 4 kids and Brandon has 2. So their appetite for risk and just leaving a job was obviously a lot more, harder than mine. So we kind of created what we called our leap of faith milestone, where, we worked on this. We did the whole hustle thing. So we did our jobs, 50 hours, whatever it may be. We meet in Ken's garage in the evening and just grind and work together. And then we said, okay, if we get either an investment or accepted into a startup accelerator. Startup accelerators are investment firms that invest into companies, but they also give you a place to live for a bit, and they just try to make you do it 3 to 4 months of work in 1 year, and they give you resources, connections, etc. So we actually got accepted to one in Colorado. So we lived there for 4 months to get the company off the ground, but that was our leap of faith milestone. But it was still very small, and it was only 20 grand. I didn't take any of that, but 20 grand, even just say 10K each to Ken and Brandon, that has to last months. They have family and mortgages to pay. So it's, it was very we need to figure out a way to make money quickly. Because, software is not, it's not a cash heavy business. It's a liquidity heavy business on the back end. So usually you need venture, normal models raise capital, not make a profit for a while, etc. So that's why, we needed either A, make customers, or B, more than likely raise capital quickly. But it was a big kind of scary thing, not so much from my end because I could just move back to mom. I don't own. To them though, it was very scary for them to do that. And I told them hey, I promise you, if we do this, I can't promise you I'll make you rich, but I promise you your lives won't be the same. And I believe I've held up to that ever since. We all still enjoy what we do, even though they do slightly different things now, but that moment changed our lives. to start our own business. And yeah, so that is, I think that appetite depends on everyone, but I think having a side hustle is good regardless what the appetite is, because having a normal business either brings income that can go towards a side hustle to eventually become a real one. And then especially if you have more, things there, such as family or things, and obviously you got to wait longer. But even for those people, we're talking specifically 30 under with not as many responsibilities, having a good job adds credibility. It adds expertise. I learned so much for working for a software company that I applied to mine. But if you're at a dead end job, then maybe doing the business is a good idea because there's not much to lose. But if you have a good job, build up the side hustle until there's a time where it makes sense for you to jump ship and do so. And then just pursue it diligently. Just understand it's not going to be any easier.
Yeah, I think, this is something, again, it's interesting, right? We went from the best economy on record, right? Unemployment under 4% to, unemployment double digits. So it may be less of an issue now, but that hustle porn was getting kind of crazy with all the people just, flashing stacks of paper and cars and private jets, which most of that stuff was fake, right? They were jumping fences to take pictures.
Yeah.
People just need to realize that there's nothing wrong with having a 9-to-5 job. There's nothing wrong with it. But build your dreams, build financial freedom. You really build financial freedom one of two ways. One is you control your expenses, right? It's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep, right? And the delta is, what are you spending every week, month, day, whatever, right? And the other one is, are you buying assets versus liabilities? Because assets will feed you over time. And if you hold on long enough, they're going to take care of you. That's our 15-year journey in a nutshell. Is we started whacking expenses, and we bought assets when they were on sale, and we held them for a long time. So it's not sexy though. It's not. I wish it was sexy, because then people would follow it. It's just not sexy. Long term, 15 years. I don't know what else to tell them. I don't know. Any thoughts?
No, but I mean, it's something I've wished. My asset is always been the worth in these private companies, so it's not tangible like it is real estate, etc. There was one time where my last company, we had a potential buyer for the company, ended up not coming to fruition because we didn't take the offer the first time. Long story short, but the sale would have been in the low millions, and my liquidity would have been in the hundreds of thousands, and then that's gone. It disappeared. So as soon as that offer disappeared, so did my net worth, and that company then kind of plateaued, and now it is what it is. So I think definitely my hustle, and it kind of has been around that, but it's something I've always, especially as I'm getting older, damn, my younger brother bought a house, years ago, and their friends that have built, so many have built it through real estate. And like you said, the idea of it kind of compared to doing something where you can maybe make money or something that's cash heavy now, just seems like it takes such a while. But then in reality, anything worthwhile does. So that's why at least housing and real estate's passive compared. It's not stopping you from doing what you need to do, kind of, versus what I do is all time commitments, whether it's running the business or that. I don't necessarily have, I have one or two e-commerce websites, and it's lower passive income, but I don't have real estate passive income.
Right.
I definitely think that's something that people should consider early on. And I think you do such a good job at kind of making it very less formidable and approachable. But yeah, I think as time, I think it has become slightly better. More YouTubers like you, and even the Graham Steffens, the world, another person I watched, have kind of, going more, and the people like the Ty Lopez's are starting to die out. So I think you will see kind of a paradigm shift where authentic influencers like you are become more relevant, and then the get rich quick schemes. I think that allure has kind of died out, and people see through that by now.
Good. I hope so. I've been around a long time, right? Almost 5 decades. So the whole get rich quick, I've seen them all. It feels good for a moment, and then it hurts. Well, let's get you some business, because I liked what you did for me. Obviously, I've gone back 4 or 5 times now to do more and more stuff. You've helped me launch both onerentalatatime.com. You've helped me launch thehubfresno.com, which would not exist if it was not for you. You've done some short videos for me as well. So lots of stuff.
who are you looking to help, right? Because I know you're selective, you don't have a lot of time, but who excites you? Who would you want to help? I'm just going to call it content because I'm not sure what other bucket to put in. But what kind of person are you looking to help? You'd love to keep, get some more work in with.
Yeah. So the places that I'm looking to probably help are either in kind of, I'm interested in anything doing with like real estate and content. So maybe content marketing for influencers such as yourself. Another place I've actually had experience and pretty interested is, it is very crowded, but I'm good at it, is obviously any wholesalers or flippers. I've done work for Google. I've done lead generation for Google Click. PPC. So I'm very familiar with kind of that industry, and then I've also helped build sales teams. So there's one real estate investment company, like I help build cold callers to do so, because we've done cold callers, on the software, and I'm very good at kind of finding people to do that. So I'm good at building sales teams. Again, those are my industries where I get down to the weeds and knowing exactly everything about them, but more I'm applying what I know to the industries and letting them be the experts and saying, okay, we can do this and then make it fit. So those are just some of the places, but anything in real estate, really. I mean, the more stuff in real estate, my experience so far has been from buy and hold from you, and then wholesaling / flipping with the other company. But there's obviously other pieces that I don't know about. I mean, I don't know anything about mortgage companies. I mean, I applied for one recently, maybe buys here in the next few months, got approved for a loan. But, lenders, I know nothing of that business. If I built a website for a lender, that would be fun. So I'm just throwing random ideas out there. That's kind of what I've experienced with, and there's some gaps of stuff I haven't. But always looking to just work with really passionate people that love what they do, and then be able to help them out.
Very, very cool. And folks, I recommend him. Again, I wouldn't go back to somebody 4 times, and I certainly wouldn't invite him on my channel to be the feature of the week for entrepreneurs if I didn't like what Eric's done for me. So again, if you want to get a hold of Eric, it's ericsantosbiz@gmail.com, correct?
Correct.
Excellent, bud.
Thank you so much.
Of course, man. Thank you very much. This is fun. I love what you're doing, and we got to talk about what's next for me.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, bud. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael.